Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here on this beautiful day. First, I'd like to start by acknowledging some of our special guests in attendance. Of course, we are joined by, as you just heard, Suffolk County's own, our Senate Majority Leader, Senator John Flanagan. Assemblyman Steve Engelbright. Congressman Lee Zeldin. And the Commissioner of the Department of Environmental Conservation, Basil Sagos. I'm joined by a number of my colleagues in Suffolk County government, and I want to thank them for their work on water quality issues. Legislator Kara Hahn. Legislator Leslie Kennedy. Legislator Al Krupski. And Legislator Rob Trotta. And joining us from the town of Smithtown, the great supervisor, Patrick Vecchio. So we are here today, joined by our governor, Andrew Cuomo, on the banks of the beautiful Long Island Sound. The Sound is not only a backdrop to our community, it is an economic generator supporting jobs and driving our tourism industry here. It's part of our quality of life. It's part of our heritage here. This majestic waterway is one of the many state crown jewels, and it's joined by a deep variety of awe-inspiring natural resources across New York State, from the rolling hills of the Catskills to the majestic views at Montauk. The truth is, the health of our environment depends on our ability to protect it. Thankfully, this year, Governor Cuomo and the state legislature passed a record $300 million investment in the Environmental Protection Fund, plus millions more in state funding for water quality and treatment in Suffolk and Nassau counties, and I personally want to thank Governor Cuomo and our state legislative leaders for their support of water quality here in Suffolk County. Providing funding to these important programs is critical to the vitality of our surroundings, but the urgency of our focus recently took a sharp turn. The Federal Environmental Protection Agency announced its intent to expand dumping operations of potentially harmful sludge into our backyard, straight into the Long Island Sound. We are here today to stand with Governor Cuomo in sending a loud and clear message to the EPA that the Long Island Sound is not a dumping ground. Our voices are stronger as one in this fight, and therefore it gives me great pleasure to introduce and welcome to the podium a great friend to this community, a leader in our state, and one of our great environmentalists, Assemblyman Steve Engelbright.
Thank you very much. It's really a great privilege to be here today. And this is an extraordinary site, and it's right in the solar plexus of the issue, in the middle of the Long Island Sound, literally. I'm pleased to welcome Governor Cuomo back to Long Island for an announcement that is close to our hearts, and especially for those of us along the North Shore. I also just want to acknowledge my colleagues in the Assembly who are here in force today. Assemblyman Mike Fitzpatrick, thank you. I checked my passport at the gate. This is your district. Assemblyman Chuck Levine. Assemblymember Dave McDonough. Assemblymember Dean Murray. Assemblyman Tony Palumbo. Assemblyman Andrew Rea, the adjoining district, and Assemblyman Joe Saladino. Thank you all for being here. Like many communities across New York, we cherish our waterways. They are central to our way of life here on Long Island. As a nationally significant estuary, the Long Island Sound is particularly special. It is home to one of the most productive ecosystems on Earth and sustains numerous diverse species. Federal, state, and local governments have spent billions of taxpayer dollars to clean up the Long Island Sound, and significant progress has been made. During the last year, we've seen dolphins and humpback whales return to the Sound, attracted by an abundance of bait fish. The Sound's ability to support these marine mammals, as well as diverse fisheries, boating, and recreation, depends on the quality of its waters. We can't risk jeopardizing the health of the Sound, and Governor Cuomo has made it clear that it is vitally paramount, not just to Long Islanders, but to all New Yorkers and the many visitors who come to our shores. Across the state, the governor has invested in our waterways like never before, ensuring that they remain in pristine condition and unharmed by unfettered disposal. The eastern Long Island Sound is no exception. Continued dumping, especially the proposed insult of a new dump site at the mouth of this estuary, will make the task of cleaning up the Sound much more difficult. This magnificent estuary deserves to be treated in a manner that is consistent with and respectful of the ecological and recreational services it provides to both our region and the nation. Thank you, Governor Cuomo, for keeping your pledge to preserve our waters and ensuring that this vital waterway will continue to thrive. It is now my pleasure to welcome the Majority Leader of the New York State Senate, my senator, all of our senator here on Long Island, Senator John Flanagan.
All right, so good afternoon. Whoa, okay.
Do that with no extra charge.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Steve Engelbright doing the full Chevy Chase imitation on Saturday Night Live. To Assemblyman Engelbright, who is a great colleague and friend, Steve, thank you so much for the kind words. And it is absolutely wonderful to be here today. And I reflect on so many different things being up here. So let me start by thanking County Executive Steve Malone, who traveled all the way from the South Shore of Babylon to get up here today to be with us. And I know he's proud to be here. And Congressman Zeldin, who was a great colleague in the New York State Senate, has done exemplary work at the federal level. And let me introduce my colleagues from the Senate, Senator Kaminsky, and three of our colleagues who are, my goodness, I'm trying to figure out how to introduce them in order with aplomb and gratitude for the work that they do. So Senator Hannan is the chair of the Health Committee, having served in government for about 40 years and is a recognized expert, quintessential Long Islander. And while he may not be, right on the water in so many respects compared to Marcelino and Laval and Flanagan, he is obviously someone who cares very deeply about Long Island and the state of New York. Senator Carl Marcelino served with distinction, and Steve Engelbright knows this because of the work that gets done at the ENCON Committee. Being chair of the ENCON Committee is not an easy job. Senator Marcelino served with distinction for, I think, about 14 years as chair of that committee, and during that time, he took a lot of body blows, he did a lot of good work, but one of the things that he did fantastically was support Long Island, support the environment, and support the Environmental Protection Fund in particular, without question. As a vanguard and protector of the environment, not only here on Long Island, but in the state of New York, he was a strong, strong, strong advocate in so many different ways for getting additional funding, not only for the environment, but here for Long Island in particular, involving water quality, brownfields legislation, some things that are esoteric, technical, highly complicated, and yet so quintessentially important to New York State in so many different ways. So to Senator Marcellino for his service then and now his service as chair of the Education Committee, I want to thank him. Senator Marcellino, thank you. And I did a double take, and any of you who know our colleagues in government, I got a chance to see Ken LaValle today, who is sporting, as we all know, the infamous, famous Ken LaValle Stony Brook hat. And I did a double take, because before I saw Ken, I saw Fitzpatrick, who stands a little taller with the Stony Brook hat as well. So, Mike, nice to see you. Obviously, we're in Assemblyman Fitzpatrick district, but let me, I want to say something about Ken LaValle in particular. This issue has been brewing for a while. And Ken LaValle and I have a fantastic relationship. And Ken LaValle is not only a great New Yorker, but he is vintage Long Island. He has stood up on so many different things for so many different ways, including higher education, which all of you know. But in terms of the environment, Ken walks around and preens and says, I'm an environmentalist, and rightfully so. And long before this issue got into the forefront, Ken LaValle was out there finding out what's going on, asking questions, drilling down, working with the governor's administration, and acting like someone who was behind the scenes and getting out in front when it was necessary. And I would be remiss if I did not only thank him for his work in so many different ways, particularly in higher ed, but in this area, but I also want to welcome, also from Nassau County, our great colleague and friend, Senator Jack Martins, who is a fantastic member of our conference. So, Jack, nice to see you here. And to all of our colleagues in the Assembly, Democrat and Republican, it is great to have everybody here today. So we are Assemblyman Fitzpatrick, Supervisor Vecchio, Legislator Trotta. We're all proud because the governor and I were just kibitzing a little bit. You're right in the heart of the 2nd Senate District, Assemblyman Fitzpatrick's district, Legislator Trotta's district, the town of Smithtown. How much better does it get than this? No matter where you may be, you couldn't have a more glorious day. And that's exactly why we're here and why it's so important that we gather together, that we speak about these issues, and that we talk about where we are, who we are, what we advocate for, and why we want to protect the Long Island Sound. Having said that, I want to speak very briefly about budgetary issues, and I want to compliment the gentleman that I'm going to introduce, and that is the governor of the great state of New York, the Empire State, Andrew Cuomo. Governor Cuomo has worked very collegially and very in-depth with the legislature. You're talking about record, and I repeat, record investments in the Environmental Protection Fund. We're at a higher level than we ever have been before, and everyone deserves credit for that. Yes, you can. That's something that inures to the benefit of the people not only in this area, but all across Long Island and the state of New York. Beyond that, just water infrastructure, additional money that has really been at the forefront of so many different issues, not only here on Long Island, but across the state of New York. And you do the EPF, you do water infrastructure, everything adds up. And I recollect my father, God rest his soul, who I remember talking to him about Long Island and just water generally. And for whatever reason, I remember this quite clearly. My father spoke about Long Island, and he spoke about the state of New York, and he spoke about the country. And he said one of the primary reasons that the state of New York and the Northeast will always be so incredibly important is because of the quality of water that we have. So we need to jealously guard that in so many different ways, whether it's here at the local level, whether it's at the state level, and more importantly, whether it's at the federal level. So we have done a lot of good work, and we've done, I think, in a very diplomatic and professional fashion. So where we are now, I look out here, no different than anybody else, and I want to explain something to you very quickly. Governor, I'm going to be unabashed. I'm just going to point this out because you have done all kinds of things with the Catskill Challenge, the Adirondack Challenge. I got this nifty little thing here called the Empire Passport. $65. It's the best bargain in the world. It's the best bargain in the world. I have 3 of them for the cars that I have. You can buy this for a year, You can travel anywhere in the state of New York to any park at any time, and it is absolutely fantastic. The governor did the Adirondack Challenge. I had a chance to be with him at the Catskill Challenge, which was phenomenal to see other parts of the state, and that's something that we should recognize. So here we are at Sunken Meadow, and I know the governor is going to speak to the capital improvements that have been made, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to introduce the governor on this point. We are all a team, and we're here about Long Island and the best interest of the state of New York. So when we gather together and we try and deal with the federal government and basically say, what the heck are you doing? Like, what are you thinking? And this goes to Ken LaValle, because he and I have had these conversations like, why are we dumping anything in Long Island Sound? Why are we not at a point where, given technology and our society today, let's find different alternatives. We spend a lot of money. We spend about $150 billion in our New York State budget. Why can't we find a better way to do this? So when we partner with the county or with the town or whomever it may be, we should not have adversaries at the federal level. We should have allies and colleagues who want to work in concert. Congressman Zeldin certainly knows that at the federal level. So, ladies and gentlemen, the person who has the best bully pulpit and, frankly, who can be the most articulate, working with all of us, Assembly, Senate, Democrat, Republican, is the gentleman I'm proud to introduce. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the great governor of the state of New York, Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. I made it up the stairs. Senator Flanagan made it down the stairs. It's a good beginning. Plus, there's nobody to sue if we fall on the staircase. We'd have to sue the state of New York. That would be bad on any level. What a beautiful day. What a beautiful location. It is so good to be here. I wish we were all dressed a little differently. We could have done this 100 feet closer to the water and taken a dip. But it's an important issue, and I'm so proud to be with so many colleagues unified on this issue. First, to Senator Flanagan, I want to thank him very much, not just for the kind introduction, but for a great legislative session. We accomplished a lot of great work for the state of New York, right across the board on every level. The environment, what we've done on education, and we did that by working together, by compromising, by finding a common way. And during these days where you have such political tension, you have such gridlock, you have such anxiety and anger everywhere, it's good to see that the government in the state of New York was rational and found common ground. And I thank him for it. Let's give him a round of applause. Senate Leader Flanagan. To Steve Engelbrecht, my Assembly colleagues, pleasure to be with you, and I want to thank you very much. Steve has been a champion on this issue for many, many years, so thank you. County Executive Steve Bellone, who did take the longest ride to be here, thank you for going out of your way to be here, County Executive. And to my DEC Commissioner Basil Sagos, who's doing a great job, pleasure to be with you, and to all my other colleagues. As Senator Flanagan alluded, the Empire State Passport, the state has a phenomenal system of state parks. Many of us take it for granted. Many of us don't know that they are state parks in the first place. But these were great, great assets because our forefathers had the foresight to really put aside some prime pieces of real estate as state parks. They fell into disrepair over the years because the state neglected them. We have invested in the state parks over the past few years, $900 million, believe it or not. We were at Jones Beach State Park, many of us a few weeks ago, to look at the renovations on the Jones Beach State Park. I went to Jones Beach and I went to Sunken Meadow. I would go with my grandparents. One grandparent liked to go to Sunken Meadows, one liked to go to Jones Beach. Both beautiful parks in and of themselves. They both fell into disrepair. My generation, you just watch Jones Beach on a steady decline. And we're now bringing it back to its former glory, and it is beautiful. I mean, that was Robert Moses at his best with the architecture and the really artwork that is all through Jones Beach. Sunken Meadow here, we're doing new toll plazas, new bathhouses. We're giving the entire place a facelift. So hopefully we pass these assets on to our children better than we got them. And that's the goal for us on so many of these issues. This particular issue is probably one of the top priorities in the state, and probably the top priority for Long Island, if you ask me. The water quality is everything on Long Island. And it is indiscernible, the water on Long Island. We talk about drinking water, and then we talk about coastal water. Given the geography of and geology of Long Island, they are basically the same. Long Island is basically a big sandbar. And the rain goes through the porous sand, and it fills the aquifer, and the aquifer meets the coastal water. And depending on how much water we take out of the aquifer is how much intrusion there is for salt water. So that's what makes Long Island Long Island. That is our asset. That's why you have some of the most important real estate and businesses and commerce in the world on Long Island because of this. They came here for this. And this is what has to be protected. This is what has to be cleaned up, and this is what has to be passed on. We have spent, and we are spending, and I'm proud, billions and billions of dollars to do just that. Good for Suffolk County and the county executive's leadership. We're investing hundreds of millions of dollars in a sewering project for Suffolk. It's not glamorous work, but we know that nitrogen is literally poisoning coastal water, poisoning the aquifer, and we have to get the nitrogen out, and that requires an investment. And we're doing it in the Peconic, we're doing it in so many different areas. Getting the chemicals out of our drinking water and getting the pollutants out of our coastal water. We've been speaking with Assemblyman Saladino, who's been concerned about the Grumman plume for many years, and he is exactly right. And we let the Navy know and we let Grumman know that we're going to hold them accountable because we want that aquifer cleaned up because we have many communities that are depending on it. And we also know that despite all our work, we still have a delicate balance. The sound is much cleaner than it was, but it's not where it needs to be. You still have dangerous algae blooms. We still have fish kills that see thousands of fish that have been killed by lack of oxygen. We know we have issues with drinking water, with chemicals in the drinking water that are dangerous. And the more we learn about chemicals in water, the more we know there are going to be challenges going forward. So we've invested a lot. We've taken new precautions, and we're going to have to do more. It would be absurd that while we are spending so much time and money in cleaning up the water, another branch of government is literally adding pollutants as we are removing pollutants. It was almost like one of those cartoons where they're shoveling out on one side and the other side is shoveling in. We are here to clean up the sound, not to dump more dredged material into the sound to create more issues. It is the exact opposite of everything this state stands for and what we have been doing together. Now, we say to the federal government, it would be nice if you were helpful, by the way. It would be nice if you helped us with funds, if you helped us with resources to protect the drinking water and the coastal water, but I will be darned if you're going to be counterproductive to us and we're going to be spending money to clean it up and you're spending money to dump more dredged material. It's not going to happen. And we believe in collegiality. We've done a lot of good work with this federal government, but they have turned a deaf ear to the state of New York on this issue. We have been consistent. We have been talking about this for years. We have said we are against additional dumping of dredged material, and they insist on going ahead despite us. We are here, we are united, and our message is very simple. It is counterproductive, it is absurd, it's an insult to the people of Long Island, it's a waste of taxpayer dollars. If the federal government goes ahead with dumping additional dredged material, we will take every action that we can, every resource that we can, and if that includes legal action to stop the federal government, that is exactly what we will do, because this cannot happen, period, my friends. Now, we say that this is the longest signing table in history. I think this is actually going to go down in the record books as the longest signing table. And that actually makes the point. The point is, we are united on this issue on every level. You have Senate, you have Assembly, you have federal representatives here, you have local county executive, you have local legislators, you have Democrats, Republicans, you have liberals, you have conservatives, you have short people, you have tall people, you have every variety that you can imagine. And this does not happen often. And we are all here together because more than Democrats, Republicans, more than Senate, Assembly, we're New Yorkers, and we're people who love Long Island, and that is what unites us. And we are together, and we speak with one voice, and we sign with one voice that the federal government must not allow this to happen. And my friends, if we stand together, I promise you, it will not happen. Let's sign the letter. Thank you for being here.
Keep going, keep going. Keep signing. Sign away, sign away.
All right, let's look up on the sign. Ready on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Keep looking up. That's right. Beautiful, beautiful.
1, 2, 3. Everybody good? Kevin, you good?
We're good.
All right, guys. Thank you. Come on down. One more photo, guys. Come on down.